Hi guys, it's Mrs. Jewel. Happy Tuesday. It's a pretty gloomy day outside, so you just get Lucy and I sitting on the couch reading chapter 10. Here we go. It isn't easy pretending everything's wonderful when you feel like you've been thrown off the roof of a building. Luckily, there weren't any bruises that Mom or Dad could see, because this time Jasper Jr. had socked me in the stomach, not my eye, and the ugly knot on my thigh bone was covered up by my pants. I didn't tell my parents what happened because they would have freaked and gone straight to Dusty Muleman, or maybe even the police, which was not how I wanted to handle it. So I just sat around like a lump in front of the television, trying not to move. In the summer, I'm always outdoors, fishing or snorkeling or skateboarding. So Abby got suspicious about me hanging around the house every day. Mom thought it was weird too, but she was busy keeping an eye on my father. Mr. Shine had arranged for Dad to return to the jail and surrender himself. The sheriff couldn't wait to send him back home, although a judge put him under house arrest until the Coral Queen case was settled. To keep track of his whereabouts, they clipped an electronic bracelet on Dad's right ankle. If he stepped so much as 3 inches past our front door, a signal would beep at the sheriff's station and they'd come after him again. For a week, we were like a semi-normal family, except that my father wasn't allowed out of the house. One of us always stayed with him, not just to keep him company, but also to make sure he didn't try anything cute, like prying off the ankle bracelet. We played lots of video games and watched fishing shows on ESPN and didn't talk. Sorry, I lost my spot, guys. And didn't talk at all about Dusty's casino boat. Abby's new project was building an Olympic village for hermit crabs, and Dad really got into it. Abby and I collected the crabs. There were scads of them in the woods along the old highway, while my father sat at the kitchen table working with his tools. Before long, he'd put together a miniature track, a lap pool, a pole vault, even a hurdle run. Unfortunately, the average hermit crab isn't particularly athletic, having to haul a clunky seashell around on its back, so the sports competition part of Abby's project sort of fizzled. Most of the crabs hunkered down and refused to budge. Still, it gave Dad something to do that kept his mind off the Coral Queen, until Shelley showed up late one afternoon. Abby watched her get out of the Jeep and said, "This ought to be good." Shelley was dressed in her casino boat bartender's outfit, which was loud and skimpy. She wore high heels and stockings that looked like they were made from a mullet net. As I opened the door to let her in, I decided it was probably a good thing that Mom wasn't home. "Long time no see," Shelley said to my father and gave him a brisk, businesslike hug. Then she introduced herself to Abby, who was gawking at the barbed wire tattoo on Shelley's bare arm. "How about something cold to drink?" Dad offered. "Iced tea would be super. I can't stay long," Shelley said. We all sat down in the living room, Shelley crossing her legs and sipping her tea. My father was on the edge of his seat, looking like he was dying to pepper her with questions. "How you doing, Noah?" Shelley said to me. "Great. Feeling okay?" She gave me a narrow look to let me know she knew I wasn't telling the truth. It was creepy how sharp her radar was. "So how's work?" I said, eager to change the subject. "Work is work," Shelley replied. Then turning to Dad, "Payne, what's that thing on your leg?" My father explained about the electronic bracelet. "I'm on house arrest. You believe it?" "Boy, that really sucks," Shelley said. Out of nowhere, Abby asked about the tattoo. That's one thing about my sister. She's not afraid to say anything. Shelley smiled and traced one finger along the dark blue links. "That's a story for when you're older," she said. "It was a long night and a bad party." "But why barbed wire?" Abby always called it barbed wire. "To show the world how rough and tough I was," said Shelley. "To be honest, I wish it was daisies instead. This thing's gonna look mighty stupid when I'm 80 years old and my grandkids are asking me how come I got a cow fence painted on my arm. Hey, Payne, can you take a bath with that ankle gizmo, or would you get all electrocuted?" Dad laughed. "Nah, it's waterproof." "Amazing," Shelley said. "Any word from Lice?" I asked, hopefully. She shook her head. "But I got some other news. That's why I stopped over." We waited as she glugged a long drink from her glass. "They're at it again," she said, dumping the toilet tanks into the water. "Last night I stayed late to restock the bar and I saw it for myself. Dusty was already gone with the money, and I guess the crew didn't know I was still there. I noticed that my father's fists were clenched on the arms of his chair. Abby saw it too. They just hung the hose off the side of the boat, Shelley went on, like it was business as usual. What time was this? Dad asked. Between 1 and 1:30. The marina was empty, Shelley said. Abby spoke up again. That man is major scum. No doubt, said Shelley. And here's what else. The big, bald guy with the Z-shaped nose, the one who came to see Lice that night before he went missing, his name's Luno, and he's Dusty's main muscle. I think he's from Morocco or someplace like that. I purposely didn't look at Abby. Neither of us had told my father that she'd bitten Dusty's goon that night at the marina when he snuck up and grabbed her. Dad would have gone bonkers if he found out. And Mom, well, forget about it. We'd already be halfway to Saskatchewan by now. What if they get suspicious and start hassling you? I asked Shelley. Why would they? Think about it from Dusty's point of view. Why would I come back to work for him if I knew he and Luno were mixed up in Lice's death? Heck, I'd have to be suicidal, right? Shelley winked. Nah, Dusty bought the whole sad story. He thinks I wanted my job back just because Lice left me broke. And I'll be honest, the money's not too shabby. Dad stood up and started pacing back and forth. Well, I'd better be off, Shelley said. How are things going with Dusty? I asked. Oh, don't worry about that. He's under control. You be careful, my father told her. Yeah, well, don't go sinking that boat again, Shelley said, especially if I'm on it. Then she said goodbye and breezed out the door, leaving us in silence with a little sweet scent of tangerines. That night, Abby barely touched her dinner. She said she didn't feel well and asked to go to bed early. Mom tucked her in and returned to the table. I think your sister's got a touch of the flu. Are you feeling all right? Fine, I said. Pain? Never better, said my father. Did you call the taxi company? Mom asked. Tomorrow, I promise, Dad said. He was supposed to make sure that they were holding his job for him. Actually, I was thinking of trying to get my captain's license back, he said matter-of-factly, so I could guide in the backcountry again. My mother put down her fork. You can't be serious. Well, why not? After what you did to the casino boat, you honestly believe the Coast Guard will let you take customers back out on the water, she said. Honey, you'll be lucky to get your cab back. Dad stabbed at a green bean and let the subject drop. Somebody from the Herald phoned while you were in the shower, Mom said. I explained that you won't be giving any more interviews, right? Yeah, my father mumbled. One of the conditions for Dusty Muleman dropping the criminal charges was that Dad stop ranting to the press. You know, he started flushing his holding tanks again, Dad said. It's true. Ask Noah. Mom looked at me, then back at my father. How do you know this? We've got our sources, Dad said mysteriously. Someone who works on the Coral Queen, I said. I see, my mother said. Then this source of yours should go straight to the authorities and make a report. That's the way it's supposed to be done. Noah, please pass the rice. But Dusty's got connections with the Coast Guard and the cops, Dad complained. They won't do diddly unless somebody catches him red-handed. And maybe somebody will, said Mom. But whoever that somebody is, they don't live in this house. I'd made my last visit to the jailhouse. Is that understood? That night I couldn't sleep, so I dug out a stack of old skateboarding magazines. It was real late, well past midnight, when Mom peeked into my room and saw that I was still awake. She sat down on the bed and told me she was sorry that dinner had gotten a little tense. Everything would get back to normal, she said, once Dad's legal problems were over and he was working again. It took every ounce of courage, but I had to ask, did you mean what you said to Grandma Janet about a divorce? Mom took a short breath and pressed her lips together. You heard me on the phone that night? I'm so sorry. Noah, I was extremely upset. I could tell she wanted to give me one of those big, smothering hugs, like she used to do when I was small. This time, though, all she did was reach over and touch my hand. Your father is a very unusual and intense personality, she said, as I'm sure you've noticed. I love him dearly, but sometimes he drives me bananas. More than sometimes, truthfully. I know, Mom. Look, I understand that he gets terribly upset by certain things he sees in this world. Greed and injustice and cruelty to nature. That's one of the things that first attracted me, seeing how deeply he cared. But he's a grown man, my mother said, and he needs to start behaving like one. I don't care to be married to a jailbird. So you were serious, I said. I'd never bluff about something like divorce. It wouldn't be fair to you and Abby. I didn't need to tell Mom how worried we both were. She knew. Speaking of your sister, she said, I'd better peek in and see how she's feeling. I said good night and turned out the light and pulled the covers up to my neck. I heard Mom open Abby's door and say her name. Abby didn't answer, so I figured she was already asleep. But then Mom started calling out for my father in a voice that didn't even sound like hers. It was so choked up. Dad came running down the hall from one direction, and I came running from the other. When we entered Abby's room, my mother was standing there with tears in her eyes. Her knuckles were pale and pressed to her cheeks, and her shoulders trembled. She's gone, Mom cried. Abby's gone. My sister's bed was empty. The window was wide open, and the screen, which had been removed, was propped against the bedroom wall. Okay, everybody take it easy, Dad urged. I could tell he was trying to calm himself as much as me and my mother. He tried to wrap his arms around Mom, but she jerked away. Somebody kidnapped her, Payne. Somebody broke in and took her. No, Mom, nobody took her, I said. How do you know? How? What could I say? Sometimes I sneak out my bedroom window late at night to go bridge fishing or crabbing with Tom and Rado. One time I got back and Abby was hiding in my room, watching me as I climbed in through the window and put back the screen. She never ratted me out to my parents, but obviously she'd remembered the trick. A kidnapper wouldn't bother to stack the screen against the wall, I pointed out. He just cut his way through with a knife. Noah's absolutely right, Dad said. This is way too neat and tidy. It's pure Abby. Mom wiped her eyes on my father's sleeve. So what you're saying is she ran away? Why in the world would she do that? I don't think Abby ran away, I said. Noah, get to the point. She probably just had something she needed to do. In the middle of the night, all by herself, my mother turned to my father and froze him with one of her deadly laser beam stares. Payne, what's going on here? I'll be right back, Dad said, and rushed out of the room. Mom spun back toward me and snatched me by the left ear. Young man, she said. She never called me young man unless she meant business. Yes, Mom? I was almost sure that I knew where Abby had gone, and I had a feeling that Dad had figured it out too. Does this have something to do with the Coral Queen? My mother asked. It's possible, I said weakly. Has this whole family gone completely insane? She let go of my ear and called out, Payne, you come back here right this second. Moments later, Dad appeared in the bedroom door. He had put on a ball cap, a pair of khaki trousers, and his old deck shoes. In one hand was the portable spotlight that he kept stowed on the skiff. Where do you think you're going? Mom demanded. The video camera is missing, my father said. Answer my question. Where are you going? To find Abby, Dad replied evenly. Payne, you're under house arrest, remember? My father sheepishly pulled up the right leg of his pants to reveal a bare ankle. Oh, that's just terrific, said my mother. She was not normally a sarcastic person, but she could be brutal when she was. I'll go pack your suitcase for state prison, she said to Dad. Will they let you bring your own pajamas? Donna, please, there's no time to argue. Oh, really? Our little girl is roaming around alone in the dead of the night, and meanwhile you've tripped off some fugitive alarm at the sheriff's station, and any minute a dozen squad cars with screaming sirens will be racing down our street. I'll go get Abby by myself, I volunteered. Don't worry, Mom, I can handle it. No, we'll go together, all three of us, she declared. And if we get into a jam, I want both of you wise guys to keep your lips zipped and let me do the talking. Is that understood? My father and I glanced helplessly at each other. There was no point in objecting. Noah, get a can of bug spray out of the pantry, Mom said. And Payne, could you please go find my car keys? And that, with Lucy sneezing, is the end of chapter 11, or chapter 10, which you should be all set to do your questions. We'll get to 11 tomorrow. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.